see you. I'm coming. Quest. Good evening, beloveds. Is it accepting?
Hey.
Hi, sis. Hey.
Oh,
Tap.
gorgeous.
You too. You as well. Energy. Sending
Yeah,
love and energy your way. And
yeah,
to all the viewers.
yeah. I
Yeah.
see people in here already. Celeste, Golden Lights. I saw somebody else. Oh, Traveling Sacred Altars. Hey, sis. Okay.
Yeah. We're getting the viewers are coming in. Yes, and a great big wellness welcome to another episode of Goddess Talks, Season 2, Episode 6. It's the beginning of our Healing Out Loud segment. And for this episode of Goddess Talks, we have the privilege and honor of sitting with Goddess Extraordinaire, Bana Set, our African holistic health nurse. She's joining us from Kemetic Wellness Sacred Healing Center, and she will be joining us for a discussion that's deep at the spiritual level.
Ooh,
Very deep. Yes. Welcome, sis. Welcome, Sinette.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
Um,
you for speaking with me. Are you kidding?
I'm excited. I'm excited. You have been showing me so much love ever since you came across my channel, and it's reciprocated. It's definitely
Yes.
reciprocated to you 100-fold. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Gratitude. I appreciate that. And the love is mutual. You know that as well. So I'm so happy we could connect and make this happen.
Yeah.
For today, our topic of discussion, we will be discussing narcissistic abuse and its effects on the melanated psyche, more specifically, narcissism as it relates to the societal system of white supremacy. So the implication here, I would say, is that not only people and families at the micro level, but the system at the macro level can both be exhibitors of narcissistic abuse.
Absolutely.
We will start off with some framework questions, then we'll build on the concepts afterwards.
Okay.
And I mean, be sure, like for our viewers, be sure to leave your questions or comments, your experiences down in the comment box. I believe there's also a question. Yep, there's a question box down there, down
Yeah.
below. If you want to hit that, you can leave your questions there, and we will be answering a couple of the questions as we go.
Mhm.
Um, Also, feel free to share the live, add some people in the comments, bring them into the discussion. The more the merrier. And yeah, let's get it started.
Yeah.
um, so Bonaset explains on her channel videos how every narcissistic trait is actually a well-documented white supremacy behavior.
Mhm.
And so with that being said, I would like to pose the question, what is narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder? And what is the societal system of white supremacy as it relates to narcissistic personality disorder?
Okay. That is a very good question. So, I want to start off by saying that when I speak about narcissism, I'm speaking about from a perspective of someone who has lived and experienced it. I'm speaking about it from a perspective of understanding a particular pattern of behavior that you would see in a toxic or abusive environment. I'm not necessarily speaking of it because it's my place to go and diagnose someone, or it's any of your place to go and diagnose someone. It's really about being able to recognize patterns so people can understand where they are in certain relationships, why they're experiencing certain things that they are experiencing. Because a lot of people are in abusive relationships and they don't realize that they're in abusive relationships, especially those are family relationships.
Yeah.
A lot of times when we have issues with family, and it may be that you're dealing with somebody who is narcissistic, other people will tell you, well, you know, this is your mom or your dad or your sister or your so-and-so, so work it out with them this way and try this way. And so that keeps us going in a cycle where trying to work something out with someone who does not have the same intentions. So now, to get to the question of what is narcissistic personality disorder, it's really, a narcissist is really an energy vampire. Okay, so I'm an energy practitioner. I always say, if you want to understand the secrets of anything, look in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. It's an energy of someone who has a parasitic relationship with other people.
Mm.
A narcissist is someone who does not know how to fill themselves up, who is basically like a black hole, an empty hole. In the book 2000 Seasons, they talk about the culture of Wazungu as being like a desert, and that whenever you deal with the desert, or whenever you experience a desert, you pretty much go there to die. There's no life there. There's no water there. It's dry. It's barren. It's empty. That's what a narcissist is, and it comes to take. They come to take. And they use other people, they use their relationships, they use other people to fill themselves up, and to fuel themselves. You understand? Because
Mm.
don't know how to find peace within. There are people who are constantly at inner turmoil, and so they like to create drama in other people's lives, and they use your emotions, they siphon off your emotions and use that to fuel themselves, to make themselves feel better. It's a pattern, a pervasive pattern of behavior, of taking from others, stealing other people's energy, lying, manipulation, and abusive, toxic behavior.
Mm. Man. And you know what I like? That you actually give the definition that the dictionary doesn't give.
Oh,
Because, you know, when you're looking at narcissism, a lot of the times, they'll say that it's like, you know, when you're full of yourself, or, you know, like just the basic common definition, right? There's nothing that like the surface side to the term. There's
right.
nothing that kind of, you know, goes deeper into it, because it seems like there's like a more sinister side
It is.
to narcissism besides just, you know, I'm full of myself, right?
And that's why a lot of people don't understand what it is. They think narcissism is about conceit, you know, like being conceited. And that may be a part of it, but narcissists, they're not always easily identifiable. Some
Mm.
narcissists, and most of the time, they seem like very nice people to those who do not know them.
Right.
It's always the people who get to see them at home when the doors are closed, when the
Yes.
windows are shut, who know who these people really are.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's factual. That is like, oh my gosh. So we're gonna get there. We're gonna get into that. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
so I guess my next question would be,
Mhm.
um, so what is what is the societal system of white supremacy as it relates to narcissistic personality disorder?
Oh, okay. So in the same way that I have, and like I said to you, I understand narcissistic personality disorder based on what I have experienced in my life. And in then going into studying our culture on a deeper level, I started to realize that the same patterns that I was seeing in relationships that were abusive were the same exact patterns of behaviors that I was seeing with the system of white supremacy. It's the
Mm.
same patterns of behavior. So I think you picked out a few different ways
Yes.
narcissists do manipulate the people who they choose as their victims. For example, with gaslighting, right? One of the tactics that a narcissist will use is gaslighting, which is to make you believe that the things you're experiencing are not true. And that comes from a movie, actually. That comes from a movie called Gaslight. And the movie was based off of a man who he wanted to manipulate his wife. Okay. I think it was either a play or a movie, something like that. And I think she had some property, whether it was a house, and he wanted to get it from her. And in order to do that, he had to make her out to be crazy. So he would manipulative things in the house. He would do things like turning on and off the lights, turning the gas on and off, things like that. And when she would be saying, what's going on here, he would tell her, you're imagining this. This was all a figment of your imagination. That never happened. Actually, you're going crazy. And if you've ever been with a narcissist, you know that this is the tactic that they do. They do things and they set up situations in a way that other people around don't know what happened. Only you and the person who did it know what they did. And
it's real sneaky.
Real sneaky and
real sneaky. Yeah.
And then when you express your anger or your frustration or your hurt about what they did, they will try to make it seem like you're crazy. Either it'll be, oh, you're too sensitive, you know, that, or that never happened, or you're taking it the wrong way. They will make you question your reality. That's the whole purpose of gaslighting, is to make you question your reality. And if you notice that whenever you talk about our abuse as Black people in this system, in Western society, that we get the same exact reaction. It's, you're actually the cause of racism. You know, if you didn't talk about racism, you know, we wouldn't have it. You're actually perpetuating it. Actually, you're the problem. You know, you're the one racism by talking about it. You know, talking about race. Oh, you people always want to make yourselves out to be the victim. Oh, you're playing the race card. Meanwhile, they created a whole entire society set up on race. But when you talk about it, you're the one causing racism by talking about it.
You got it. I'm telling you. And the more, and it's almost like the more they employ one of the tactics, the more they use another tactic to back up the tactic. Because it reminds me, when you bring up the gaslighting, in my experience with narcissistic abuse, it reminds me of when I was being gaslit. Now I'm responding to what's happening, right? The most intelligent way I know how, without knowing what I'm dealing with. And then I'm getting silent treatment. Or I'm getting, you know, like, or there's the flying monkeys coming after me, or, you know, like it's almost like, it's so deep. Honestly, it's really deep, sis. I'm so glad we're getting into this. You know what? Let's move to the next questions. I feel like we're going to get more into it. Okay. So the next question, can you be a narcissist inflicting narcissistic abuse on others and be unaware? Or is narcissism premeditated? And also, can, excuse me, you be a person that benefits from the system of white supremacy and unaware that you are participating, or is the systemic practice premeditated?
Okay, so let's try to break it down.
Oh,
I see somebody in the comments who said both, and I would agree with that. Both.
Me too.
So sometimes there are people who are more aware of what they're doing than others, right? So let's talk about narcissists in terms of one-on-one, you know, interactions, right? On a micro scale in relationships. Let me see what she said. Or Ori, the goddess, she said they make your reaction the reason when their reason came first. Yes. Okay, so there are some people who are narcissistic and they have gotten used to a particular behavior because it's gone unchecked. Right. And so you have to kind of look at how narcissism begins. A lot of times it's a person who was very spoiled very early in their life, where they were able to mistreat others and they were never held accountable. Sometimes it's a person who was traumatized as well, and that's their way of acting out in the world, and they just never were able to be accountable. They never had consequences for the things that they did. And so when you give a person a sense of entitlement that they can treat somebody however they want to, and they never have to bear any responsibility for it, it grows this ego.
Yes.
And at times they are also praised for mediocre things. They're praised for mediocre qualities, and so they develop a big head, a big ego, a false sense of self. And so some of them have been getting away with certain manipulative behaviors where it's like on autopilot. You don't necessarily even think about it. And other times they plot and they plan out wicked things that they want to do to other people. So it is both. Sometimes they're very well aware. They may not refer to themselves as a narcissist a lot. You know,
Right.
They don't necessarily think of themselves as I am a narcissist. They may be now because the term is becoming a big thing, you know, but they are aware of what they're doing, and they are aware that what they're doing is wicked and that it is harmful to another person. And we know that they're aware because they hide it.
Yeah.
They will hide in front of other people. If they didn't think that there was anything wrong with what they were doing, they would do it in the open.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Because they create like two personalities, right? There's the outside personality and the at home or the inside personality.
Yes. So they know what they're doing. That's the part that a lot of people have a very difficult time settling with.
Yeah.
Who have experienced narcissistic abuse, especially because you put people in a place in your life based on your relationship to them, like, you know, especially if it's a family member or a husband or whoever, like, no, this person would never do that to me because this is my mom. I can't believe that. And because you don't think that way, you have a difficult time believing that somebody is intentionally trying to hurt you, but they are.
Excuse me. Oh gosh. It seems like there's so much that just wants to jump out of my mouth. Okay. Okay. Here's the thing for me though. I feel like it would seem like the position of a narcissist, you would have to be like very intelligent then. You know what I mean? Like you kind of don't come into it being new to it, or you know, like you're very familiar with what you're doing. However, I've encountered some narcissists who have bare minimum intelligence and weren't the sharpest tools in the box, but yet they're full-blown calculated narcissists. You know what I mean? And I mean, is it possible that narc parents can groom their children to behave as narcissists without them knowing? And then the parents and families gladly play the role of like the flying monkeys for their children's manipulation? Is that like a possibility then? Can it be learned without you knowing that this is exactly what it is? Like the cycle is what you're portraying?
Yeah, a lot of times in narcissistic families, they have no idea that this is what is going on. They don't know what they're doing. It's like a spell that they're under. It's literally like a spell. So when we talk about breaking generational curses, it is a pattern of behaviors that everyone is used to, everyone has adopted, everyone is following. And they're so used to it, that's their normal. They don't think that anything is wrong with it. And yes, the parents do groom them to be that way. Yeah, Richard Lavitt says on a cellular level. Yes.
Yes.
It's on a cellular level.
Right.
It's a behavior. It is something that they've gotten so used to doing that they're not conscious of it. And narcissists do not self-reflect. They're not the types of people who go within to see the chaos that's going on around them.
They don't like self-work. It's just not, they are far from it, don't care for the frequency, don't want nothing to do with it.
No.
And then that reminds me of the soul swapping, because then they see you on a vibration and then they're like, okay, well, we gonna take her vibration and pretend we, right? That whole soul swapping tactic.
Yes. So do you want to get into the soul swap?
Okay, wait. Okay, what I wanted to say to follow up to that real quickly is like now I wonder how old the term narcissism is, almost, because do you know, actually, before I go on?
I have no idea how old the term is.
Yeah,
I know the term comes from like a Greek Greek, yeah, it comes from a Greek myth of it was a man. So it's a story of a man who basically was a very handsome man, and he rejected all of the advances of the women in his town or city who wanted him. And he thought he was too good for all of them. And eventually rejected everyone, isolated himself until he found himself by like a river or a pond, staring in his own reflection. And that's how he died. He fell in the water. He died looking at himself, looking at himself in the mirror, admiring his own reflection.
Won't a narcissist do it? Oh my gosh.
Say that's where the narcissus flower started to spring up. So that's the Greek story of how that happened. And that's where the term narcissist comes from.
Okay, thank you for that background and that history. Why I asked though is because for us, like for me growing up, I had always been like familiar with the behaviors of narcissism, but never the terminology. You know what I mean? Like to go along with it, to identify what was actually happening in my experience. I mean, if only in my childhood somebody had given me the definition, then maybe the thought could have occurred like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with and this is what I'm up against. And then, if they had done that, perhaps I could have viewed my experience as something empowering, you know what I mean? Versus something that was destructive of who I believe myself to be in the world, almost,
And that's the place that a lot of us are in, is that we've actually been experiencing this for some time, but we never had the words to describe what we are experiencing. We just know the energy of what it feels like.
Right.
And we didn't have the words to even really explain it to us in a way that people hearing it wouldn't, oh, peace and Jetty, would understand what we're talking about. They would, we knew that people would think we were crazy trying to explain to them what was going on,
Yes.
And a lot of people kept silent. A lot of victims of narcissistic abuse are silent about what they're going through. And just having a to describe the behavior that you are experiencing is freeing for people, because it's like, this is what I'm going through that I haven't been able to find the words to tell somebody.
Right. It's a release. It's an automatic, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
So I wonder, just before we move on to the next question, if at some point it is learned from, the family or, somewhere along the lines, then where is the curse of it being learned? I guess that would be being learned from society then.
That's exactly what it is. And this is why I was able to connect it to what we're experiencing in the system of white supremacy. Peace to you, Ashley. Peace.
Hi, Ashley.
This is how I was able to connect it. So for me, my earliest days of starting to research the things that I was experiencing, like the feelings that I had inside, was the first book that I got in researching this was a book called Verbal Abuse. And it was by a woman named Patricia Evans. I think it's actually one of the most popular books out there on verbal abuse, because I didn't even know that what I was experiencing was abuse.
Mm.
idea. So that was my first, and that was years ago. I think I was like a teenager, like maybe 19 when I first read that book. And it was from there, after having some of the same experiences in relationships,
Mm-hmm.
that I started to understand or come across the term narcissistic abuse.
Mm.
Or we didn't know any. You understand?
Right. Right. And because at some level, it's almost unconsciously passed down, neither does the ancestor before you or the ancestor before you. It just becomes a repeated behavior.
Right. Right, exactly. It's a pattern of behavior that everyone in your family has been doing for so long. And that's part of the reason that there's usually one particular person who ends up speaking out, one person
Yeah.
who ends up scapegoated. And it's always the person who can see clearly these negative patterns in the family, and the family can pick them out clearly. They know that you think differently, they know that you can see the
Yeah.
set, and they don't like it.
Yeah.
they,
And for some reason, because it's all unconscious, like if you don't like it, you're not aware why you don't even like it.
they don't even know what it is
They just
about you.
go along with it though. They're like, hey, this is just my role I'm playing and I'm staying here. I don't
Right,
want to even contemplate anything outside of it.
right, right.
It's
And
bizarre.
in a way, they're afraid of you because you stand to be the one to change things. And by
Right.
things, it would shed a light on those who continued in the same patterns and never did a damn thing about it.
Man.
So they're like, oh, you gonna come in here and make me look bad? Oh no.
Right.
No,
Of
you're not.
course, to the narcissist, you're going to make me look bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly
So
their
they see
concern.
the problem. And I said this in a previous video, that the narcissist sees the person who is exposing the abuse as the problem. They don't see the abuse itself as the problem.
Right.
And we're seeing this now when we talk about it on a macro scale. We're seeing the same
Mm.
thing play out with Kyrie and Kanye.
Yes.
Now, they're talking about a specific oppression and a specific control that's happening in the industry, in the entertainment industry,
Correct.
by the bluish people.
Okay. I like it. No flags here.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, they are being exploited by this group of people. And by pointing out that they are being exploited, that is the problem now.
Right.
That's now the problem. Not the fact that we are exploiting you is the problem. We don't want to look at the fact that we are exploiting you, or even the possibility that we might be exploiting you. We're now upset that you are exposing us and ripping off that false mask that we have been wearing.
Yeah.
So our abuse of you is not the problem. You exposing it is the problem.
Exactly. So in essence, by you exposing something or you speaking up against it, you become the exhibitor of the racism. It's like, hey, I noticed there's this thing called racism. You're racist.
Right, right. And I've been seeing
How do we land there with it? Like how
it,
how do we
it's a common tactic that they use. Narcissists use this tactic, and racists use the same exact tactic. And it's a way to back you up from saying anything. You notice how other black people in the industry do not talk about, they all know that this is going on. They
right.
may talk about it amongst themselves, but they never dare say it out loud because they're afraid of experiencing that level of punishment, because a
Right.
narcissist is going to punish you for exposing them.
So us speaking about the behavior of others makes us racist.
Right. Let them tell it. That's how it goes.
Even though you've said nothing racist.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's exactly how it goes if you let them tell it.
Right.
And I notice it in the comments of videos that I make on this topic, or any pieces that I put out on this topic. I will always get the Wazungu in the comments who try to do the projecting the gas. It's
Yes.
always the same comment.
Yes.
And
Yes.
people try to soothe me. They're like, don't worry about the comments. Listen, don't worry about me. I don't care about those comments. Those comments are not bothering me. I expect that.
Right.
I know what it is. It's a manipulation tactic.
Exactly.
It's to get me to shut up. I'm not supposed to be speaking about this.
It's a diversion. It's a
Right.
way to divert.
Right.
Divert the energy that you have.
Right.
Yeah. Man, okay. Well, so next question. Is there one group of people who are predisposed to or predominant exhibitors of narcissistic personality disorder? If so, who, or are we all at risk?
Okay. So anyone of any race can be a narcissist. Anyone of any race. When we talk about how a narcissist is bred and how they are cultivated, being spoiled, being entitled, never having to be accountable, anyone who is raised that way can be a narcissist. Doesn't matter what, race or creed you come from.
Right.
Now, when you want to look at things on a societal level and you think about people in terms of groups of ethnicities or race, right? There's one group of people who is very obvious have had a history of mistreating people with absolutely no consequences, who cannot be criticized for their mistreatment of other people, who are never accountable, who have showed a lack of empathy even in, whether it's grape or whether they are unaliving people, it does not matter. There's a lack of empathy and there's a lack of accountability. When they can gun you down in the streets and laugh about it,
Right.
and make you out to be the cause of it happened because you were a thug. It happened because you were out at night. It happened because you were on clothing. It never happened because I was just a wicked person who decided that I was going to take you out. There's never accountability on their part. And even now, certain things are coming. We're going through a whole shift in dimensions where those who have gotten away for a very long time with doing these things and never being held accountable, we're like, no, you got to pay up. The talk of reparations is coming up now. It is time for them to pay, and they are afraid. They are afraid of being held accountable and for the consequences of their actions. They're afraid. There's only one group of people who that applies to. If you can think of another one, let me know.
Sis. Woo. Okay, two-part question. The second part to that was, is there one group of people who are the main experiencers of people with narcissistic personality disorder? If so, who, or are we all at risk?
Right. So we're living in a system of narcissism, which we call white supremacy, right? Or white racism. It's the same exact energy. It's the same thing. And those who are most affected by this system are those who are further away from the culture of whiteness, which would be the melanated indigenous people of this earth. Everyone is experiencing it, and everyone has experienced it to some degree. However, some people have avoided the worst of it because of their proximity to whiteness. So the closer you get to whiteness, the safer you are. The closer you get to whiteness, the safer you are. And we see that even among us, where there's often a split between even complexions of Black people. And the reason for that is because people want to be closer to whiteness because they want to be safe. They want to, and this is where you start to see the dynamics even of like flying monkeys in relationships with narcissists, narcissists one-on-one. You start to see that being played out in our human family, where you have other groups of people who will also gaslight us, who will also tell us that we're being victims, who will also perpetrate racism against us, even though they themselves have experienced it, but they're doing that because they want closer to,
right.
they
So
want
it's
to be
almost not safer then. It's because it's not safe if you're still playing the game, right? Almost. It's just like it's a way for them to be more like what's being projected to them rather than the experiencer of what's projected to them, I would say, maybe.
they feel safe in being more like those who are perpetrating racism against
So
us.
in essence, they feel more safe being narcissists
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah, basically. It's just like I said, the flying monkeys in a narcissistic family, for example. They
Mm-hmm.
may think things are wrong, but they don't have the courage to stand up to, I guess you want to call the main narcissist in the family, right? They don't have the courage to stand up, and they don't want to go through what the scapegoat, the person who is experiencing the most abuse, is experiencing. They don't want to go through that.
Right.
In order for them to feel safe, they go along with it, and they
Mm.
even in on it.
Mm.
So I want to read this question here.
Yes, we have wonderful questions. I was going to say
But,
that.
but to be safe is not to be protected, right? That is true. They're never fully protected. In a way, they are. In a way, they are. It gives them a degree of protection. It gives them a degree of protection. But like I said, they are experiencing it too. They're
Right.
trying to be
That's what I
safe.
mean. So how are you safe, you know?
They just don't have the courage to break free. They don't
Ah.
have the,
So it's like the ignorance is bliss,
yeah,
almost.
yeah.
Okay.
They
Wow.
don't have, and they're not experiencing it to the degree that the person on the bottom rung is experiencing.
Mm.
So
Right.
they're,
So there's no urgency or
the
right.
earth is not there. No
Right.
one in the human family has experienced racism to the degree that we have, even though everybody else has experienced. The Japanese have experienced it,
Right.
Hispanics have, they've all experienced it to some degree, but nobody has our experience as Black people globally. Nobody else does.
Correct. Correct.
So they feel a little bit safer being close to the top,
Right.
or a little more like white.
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
we're going to get into some conceptual questions next. I just want to acknowledge before we do, in the questions section here, Orie, the goddess, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Sorry, goddess, if I'm not. She has a couple questions, and we're going to get to them. I just want to acknowledge that we know that they're there. After these conceptual questions, we're going to get into that question period,
Yeah.
because you're asking a fantastic couple of questions. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Putting some questions in the chat. I appreciate
yeah,
that.
me too. So now conceptually then, so now we have the framework of what we're dealing with. Excuse me. I should have brought some water with me. What does being in a narcissistic codependent relationship with a society powered by white supremacy look like for a melanated person who may or may not be aware that they are in one?
That is a very good question. Hotep to
What's
you.
up? What's up?
So what a codependent relationship to white looks like for melanated people.
Yes.
It looks like being afraid to speak up about the abuse that you are experiencing because I'm afraid that I will lose my job, and afraid that me speaking up about what I am experiencing, I will be targeted, I will be attacked, I may be killed, I may be hurt, I may lose my employment and not be able to feed myself or feed my family. That's what it looks like for us. And so because of that fear, a lot of us will either talk about it amongst ourselves and never outside of that, or also we'll never do anything to act against that system. And some of us will even go as far as to deny that it is even happening or that it exists.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to explain why this is.
Mm.
So, because the system of white supremacy is global, there's literally nowhere that Black people can go to escape this system.
Mic drop.
I want you to just think about how that makes us feel to be trapped in that way. We feel trapped.
Deep breath.
Right? And so whenever a person is trapped in a situation that they cannot see a way out of, the mind, the brain has to do something to make you feel safe. Otherwise, you will go bonkers. You go bonkers.
Right.
And the way that the mind makes you feel safe is to make you believe that you are okay here. And happens, for example, with Stockholm syndrome. This is actually what is called Stockholm syndrome, where, for example, someone who is kidnapped begins to identify with their kidnapper. They become one with their kidnapper because in their mind, they have done everything to escape. They cannot escape. So they now identify with the person who kidnapped them so that they can feel safe. So their mind doesn't lose it because I'm trapped here. I can't get out.
Wow.
And this is what has happened to us. So when you see a lot of us who are so deep in Western culture and who think so much like white supremacists, that we do not want to destroy the system of white supremacy because deep down we are afraid that we will destroy ourselves by doing so because we've become so much a part of the system.
Ooh.
We identify. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You just blew my mind.
Yeah, it's deep.
And I know that what you're saying is real because for me, in my experience with narcissistic abuse, just on the micro level within my family, you know, I feel that way with my family. You know what I mean? It's like I've had to create certain ways to make myself feel safe within the experience until I realized that you actually are allowed to go no contact with these people. You are allowed to, you know, the boundaries finally, you know, came in, right? But it's so deep because this term is major. Like it needs to be more dissected on a grander scheme of things. If on a global scale, there's nowhere to go and feel safe from it. And within your family, there's nowhere to go and feel safe from it. So you're not safe inside, you're not safe outside.
Right.
Right.
So those of us who are Black are and experiencing narcissistic abuse within our families, we're getting a double, triple, quadruple dose of this because you are experiencing it within your family system and then also on a societal level. So it feels extremely alone. It feels like there's nowhere to go that you can be safe.
And honestly, for me, I feel like, you know, I'm getting deep right here, I guess, sharing my experience, but I almost I feel more scared having to deal with it on the micro level. The macro level, I'm like, bring it on. You know what I mean? Like, because for myself, I know I'm strong within myself, but then at home, it's like, that's where you want the affirmations to come from the people around you. But you have to keep giving the affirmations to yourself because, you know, when you're dealing with narcissism, it's like, you know, like, or, you know, when you're dealing with brother, mother, whoever it is, you know what I mean? I'm talking cousins, aunts, uncles. It comes from almost everywhere. You know what I mean? On that, from that perspective, I feel like it's more terrifying to deal with it from the people that you would expect nurturing and love from. You know what I mean? Whereas, you know, out in society, it's kind of like, well, you know, well, you can kind of almost expect it, you know?
Right. It is scarier. And because you don't expect it to happen. You may have an idea of your family based on what people tell you family is supposed to be. But you know that that's not what you're experiencing. And you also know that if you were to explain it to other people, they wouldn't get it. So
or would they get it but not understand the terminology of it because it was never introduced? Would they get the energy? Would they be like, oh my gosh, this energy is familiar that she's talking about? Or
people don't.
They don't. They just don't.
People have no idea what you're really talking about. It's normal family stuff that you're talking about. They don't
That's so
get
true.
how it really is to you. They don't get the undertones of the manipulation. They don't get all insidious, sinister things that the narcissistic family members are doing. They don't get it because if they didn't have that experience, they don't know what you're talking about.
That's so true.
Other people who have it, they get it.
They get the energy of it, but they might not understand the terminology yet.
Right.
That's like, so for example, like with you, when I discovered your page, you know, I said, gosh dang, she's talking about everything I've been going through. You know what I mean? So for me, the energy of it was felt smack right away. I was like, oh my gosh, follow, like, comment, you know what I mean? But then, you know, maybe for other people, you know, they get the energy, but then the terminology, they're just confused and they're not ready to kind of grasp it, right? The others that experience the same.
Right. And that comes with time. That's a part of the healing process when you've experienced this is researching the terminology. Actually, I had to binge, like really binge on this stuff because I understand what I was experiencing so badly. I wanted to understand it. And it took that in order for me to be able to separate myself from the abusive behavior and also to be able to recognize it in other people as well.
So, Orie, the goddess, I pinned this comment. That is another weapon. When you don't have the terminology, you cannot set true boundaries.
Yes.
They know that.
Yes.
Because I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, why didn't nobody tell me that it was narcissism that I was dealing with? My family's like, I've been going through this since I was like, you know, 3-4 years old. Like, you know what I mean? And you're sitting there wondering why, you know, the uncles don't mess with this one and that one and whatever. And you get older and you're like, well, now I kind of see why and whatever. But there's never a term. There's never a definition. It's just normalized. It's just what it is. Or, you know, in the conscious community, we talk about it as being the curse, you know? You know, but no, this is narcissism, family.
Right. And because you don't have the terminology, it makes it easier for them to make you feel like you're crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. All right. So, for the next question, we're going to explore what it is that narcissism says, that the system also says, or how it is that narcissism behaves, that the system also behaves like.
Okay.
So Banasset offers an extensive list of narcissistic psychic attack tactics, which we've chosen to discuss today for time purposes. These tactics being soul swapping, gaslighting, projection, manufactured drama, gossip and slander, flying monkeys, splitting, silent treatment, breadcrumbing, future faking. Need we go on? The narcissist is just,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
gosh, like, is the narcissist is alive and well.
Yes, yes, they have a whole bag of tricks that they use. They have a whole arsenal of tools that they use, and those are just some of them. And to be fair, I cannot take credit for most of
Right,
those. Most of
right.
those are my terminology. About two of them are the soul swapping. That's a term I came up with, or I
Okay,
haven't heard it anywhere else. I don't know if anyone else has said it, but I haven't heard it anywhere else.
okay.
And manufactured drama, that's a
I
term
love
that
that one.
describe something that I experienced.
Bang on.
Yeah.
So the other terms then, where did you source those terms?
So in my research of abuse, from the first book that I read on verbal abuse by Patricia Evans,
Right.
to another book that I read called Dodging Energy Vampires, which is a really, really good book to understand yourself as a person who is empathic, and also to understand the energy of those who are parasitic in nature, energy
Mhm.
vampires. Um,
Energy vampires, yes.
yes, and then to also now start to go onto YouTube and hear about other people who have experienced this, and also to hear about it from people who are licensed mental health professionals
Right.
speaking topic, and they have experienced it themselves, so they understand it on a different level. So people like Dr. Carmen Bryant, I've watched a lot of her videos and her content that help to break some of these things down. Dr. Ramani is another person. She has a huge following on YouTube, and she specializes in the topic of narcissistic abuse.
Okay.
Who else is another one that Dr. Lisa A. Romano. She's excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And these are mental health professionals who have
Yeah.
also experienced narcissistic abuse. So they know how to peel back all of those layers of things that one would experience. And it explained things perfectly. It gave me the words to my experience that I could not
Right.
find to express to anybody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the two that we are going to, the tactics that we'll explore today
Yeah.
will be soul snatching and gaslighting.
Yeah.
So can you define and outline the two as they are experienced with a narcissist and also exhibited within the experience of society?
Yes. And I want to shout out to Rich and Lavish Knowledge for
That's my
dropping
boy.
comments. I appreciate you, whoever you are. Thank you. Okay, so let's go for soul swapping first. So soul swapping is a term that I came up with to describe something that I've experienced with narcissistic abuse, and that I've also seen play out on a macro level in society. So what it generally looks like is a narcissist will target a particular person, and usually the person that they target, they also have a level of envy and jealousy towards this person, and they envy this person because you'll generally have certain qualities that they know they don't have, and
Mm.
certain insecurities in them. And
Mm-hmm.
so they may be your friend, it may be a family member, it may be a person you're in a relationship with, but based on the relationship that you have with this person, you're not going to think that this person is going to be backbiting you, speaking
Right.
negative about you. So what they begin to do is to break down your image to other people around you. So other people who you know, they will start speaking negatively of you, gossiping about you, lying on you. And sometimes you have no idea how long they've been talking bad about you.
Mm.
Have no idea. And so they begin to break down your good image to other people. And those qualities about you that they like, they begin to mirror them. They begin to copy them. And so what they're doing is swapping with you. They're making you out to be this nasty, negative, horrible person to everyone else, while they take the good qualities that you have and ascribe them to themselves. They pretend you. That's what I call soul swapping. That's what I call soul swapping. And people really do this. People really do this.
Before I say anything, okay, how does society also do so?
Okay, so now when we talk about white society in relation to Black people, when you think of who we were prior to our place in history as enslaved Africans, right? Prior to that, we were teachers, we were scientists, we were, farmers, we were everyday, normal, wholesome people living in our natural environment. One of the things that was important to us was, she said, come on, did you copyright that term?
Right?
I have that.
I'm telling you.
So, yeah, one of the things about us was we value family. Okay, our societies were always based on strong family values. Some of the things that happen in our families right now could never occur in our indigenous environments, because we had certain things that removed those things from the bloodline. Some certain things that happened, like this molestation and incest and all that stuff, whole bloodlines would be taken out for that type of stuff. That would be allowed to fester
Perpetuate.
and problems in society. That was not allowed. So our basis was strong family, man, woman, and child, period. Period. That was our original Holy Trinity.
That's right.
Now, when they enslaved us, they took the woman one way, sold the kids a different way, sold the man a different way, split up the family all over the place. Okay, so they broke up our families, and ever since then we've been baby mama and baby daddy. We've been baby mama and baby daddy ever since then, but that's not who we are. That is our adaptation of living in a hostile environment. That's our adaptation of our experience as enslaved people.
And then what do? They turn around and they give you the representation of what should be you in these movies. They give it to you as them, right? So
Exactly.
Right.
So they now portray themselves as the happy family.
As what they stripped you from.
As what they stripped you from. That's how
they present themselves forwardly. Yeah.
They present themselves as you, and now they take your image. So the same way a narcissist would be gossiping about you and destroying your good image to other people, they do the same thing with us. They present us in the media as basketball wives and what I don't even watch the shows anymore. The Maury show and the Jerry Springer show. This is how they portray us.
You are not the father.
They slander us and destroy our image. So when other people think about Black people, that's what they see us as. That's how they see us. So they stripped us from being these beautiful, whole, healthy families to now we just baby mama, baby daddy, broken families, and they blame us for it. It's our fault. They made us hate ourselves and love their wealth. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Okay.
Says, wow, I was just about to say the true Trinity said this is soul food taking you outside of yourself. Yeah. Yeah. That's the goal.
So I feel like I want to kind of interject with like another kind of question, because I want to know then if the narcissist is able to soul swap, well, and I'm not saying this as if we want to exhibit what they're doing, but would there then be a way for, like, is there a way to outsmart the narcissist or the system? Like, is there, in other words, can you play chess with them and beat them at their own game somehow? Can you use their tactics against them? Or, you know, if you play that game, do you just kind of become one of? Is there a way to safely do so from this energetic zone, or do you end up embodying the energy if you tried to kind of flip it back on them?
You absolutely can't flip it back on them, but you don't use their tactics the same way that they use them. What you do is you use the tactics that they use in order to detach yourself from them. So one of the ways that you would get your, I remember you asking me, how would you get your soul back? One of the ways you would get your soul back after swapping is that you have to continue to be who you are. It's important for you to see the setup. Once you see the setup, that's the first step. The second step is going no contact. Your healing does not begin until you are no contact with a narcissist. And I need people
with the message.
With this. Yeah, I need people to really.
It's so true.
Yeah, because people ask me all the time, how do I deal with this person? The person is still in your life. They're still able to steal energy from you. Now, with the whole soul swapping thing, they can continue to do this as long as they get to see you, be around you. They can still continue to mirror you and steal from you. Once you cut off contact with them, what you do is you, first of all, nobody can be you better than you. You're the only one with the blueprint to this. Okay, so nobody can be you better than you. If you're copying me, you're always 100 steps behind.
Amen.
So once I separate myself from you and you don't have access to my energy anymore, what are you going to copy? All you have, you just got the old records. You don't have the new, okay? You don't have the new, okay? So now I continue myself and I continue to be the best of myself and let that shine. You no longer have contact with me, and eventually who you are begins to shine through. So the people who know the both of you and can see you, they start looking like, oh, I see she's still that person that she was portraying herself to be before. She still is that person. And they see how this person is behaving and the lies don't match up no more.
Listen, I saw a meme. I'm like Mrs. Meme. I love the memes, right? It was, you know, that face, you know, when you give that face, and then it said that, oh, I'm taking my narcissist to therapy, and then the meme was like, you like as if, yeah, that's gonna work. But it's almost like literally, because if we're dealing with you know, families, when we're talking on the micro level, the experience of narcissistic abuse, we're talking about families, you know, even though, you know, they're not healthy for us, they're still our loved ones, right? So at the end of the day, you know, you're thinking, okay, well, if I don't want to go, you know, and just cut them off or whatever, can you bring a narcissist to therapy? Is there a way to try to reason with a mediator or to try to get some sort of a relationship going after the space is taken? Or is it just completely like, you just got to write them off forever? Because, you know, sometimes these are our families, you know what I mean? Like, these are our loved ones. These are the people who gave birth to us, or, you know, like, these are important people to us as empaths, right? As feeling people.
Yeah, so she said, hell no.
Right? The meme was like, yeah, good luck. Like, that's gonna work. You know what I mean? But it's almost, because I feel like, honestly, I'll even say this, right? Like, with me, myself, and a family member, I've gone where I've cut them off, you know, and I can't, and it's a very important family member, and I can't speak to them, right? But at the same time, I almost feel like, well, I'm a rational, reasonable person. If we go and we have somebody else sit there, maybe them conversing with me can see that, hey, like, you've been the problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking, like, is there a way to mediate in front of a narcissist for at least for them? Like, is there anything that can help them come out of it? Like,
No,
for them to be healthier people
no,
to you?
no, no.
Just never. It's a write-off.
Can people change? People can change if they want to. If
Right.
they want to, not if you want them to. And that desire to make the relationship work and to make them change somehow is what keeps not only us who are in narcissistic relationships stuck and still going through that cycle, but also us as Black people stuck in this codependent, a narcissistic dynamic with white society, because we keep trying to explain to them or keep trying to get them to see the light in different ways. And you're coming to the table for healing. You're coming to the table for an understanding, and they are coming to the table to manipulate you. Y'all don't have the same intention. You are the one.
There's no way to change the intention. There's the
no. They know what they're doing. You are the one who has a problem with the abuse. They don't have a problem with the abuse. They're fine with abusing you. They are content with it. It's working for them. It's getting them exactly what they need and what they want. You are the one who has the problem with it. Therefore, you are the one who needs to change. Meaning, you need to see the person for who they are. You need to be able to decipher other people for who they are rather than who it is that you want them to be.
Right.
You need to be able to accept people for who they are, accept people for who they are, and accept your place in their life, and don't try to be anything outside of that. And also learn to develop better boundaries. You should not want to have a relationship with someone who is mistreating you.
Right.
And that's part of, seeking validation. Narcissists don't go to therapy generally. The only time they end up in therapy is usually when they're forced to do so. They're usually forced to do so by some type of court order, either because a divorce is pending or because they're facing some type of criminal charges or something like that. That's usually the only reason they end up in therapy. A lot of times you drag
for a selfish reason again.
A lot of times you dragging a narcissist into therapy, you can have a therapist turned on you. Did you know that?
Of course, yeah.
They're extremely good at manipulating.
Especially if they're narcissists as well. Imagine that you're going to therapy with a narcissist and your therapist is a narcissist. What a conundrum you're going to be in, right?
Well, we hope that's not the case.
Right.
But at the time, they're so charming and they are good at manipulation. They're better at it than we are. Right. And they're not going there with the intention to heal. That's your intention for them. So in therapy, a lot of time they're going to manipulate if they can.
If they can, right.
And sometimes you may have a therapist who can see through it, but sometimes you'll have a therapist, by the end of that thing, they be thinking you the narcissist.
Well, no. So, again, why I think, to give more context on why I asked as well, unfortunately for me, I'm dealing with a parent who is defined as such. And when it's a parent, it's like, it's your parent, right? You obviously, you're connected to them, right? But I'm going to segue into a good question here, because this is how I feel. We have a question: as a healing parent, what are ways to recognize and correct your own narc traits? Because, for example, if you are coming from a narcissistic parent, you almost kind of run the risk of repeating some of the behaviors, the learned behaviors that your parent gave to you in parenting you, right? So it's almost like you don't want to do the things that were done to you, but unless you put like a program in place, a newer program or a different program, whatever it is you need, then you might run the risk of also doing the same, right? So if we don't want to be the ones to exhibit the same behaviors and then project that onto our children, you know. So the question again was, as a healing parent, what are ways to recognize and correct your own narc traits? So do you have
I think
some
just the
insight?
fact you're willing to recognize any narc trait within you is extremely important, because that's something that doesn't happen with narcissists. They are not willing to even look at the traits that they have as being toxic. So if you feel that there may be some traits that you have that you picked up from a narcissistic parent, which is likely that you do, because those things help you to survive in
Right,
a hostile environment,
right.
go to therapy. That's what I would recommend.
Just take yourself, not the narcissist. Just take yourself.
Take yourself. That's
Right,
who to be going to therapy for. It's us.
right.
Because a lot of times, even once you leave that relationship, you will find that same person in other people. You will find the same qualities in other people, and you end up in a cycle. That you develop this victim mentality and this coldness, where people begin to break down your heart because you think everybody is out to get you, and it's not.
Right.
Is that you never learn from the experience. If you grow up, especially in a narcissistic household, you were not allowed to have boundaries. Your boundary does not like boundaries. They will always cross your boundaries. They will always violate your boundaries. And so some of you got so used to having your boundaries violated, you don't even know what they are. You don't have boundaries with other people. And that will lead even people who are not narcissistic to take advantage of you and to hurt
Right.
you. You have
Right.
to develop those things. You have to learn how to develop those things. Some of us never learned coping mechanisms for uncomfortable feelings or for being triggered.
Yes.
Some of us did not even allow ourselves to feel some of our feelings, and we very toxic ways that we deal with our feelings, whether it's alcohol or drug use or overeating. And so we have to learn how to develop positive, healthy ways of working through our emotions instead of just trying to suppress them. So you can utilize, you need to have a whole team around you when it comes to healing from this. Utilize your team. Have a therapist, have a holistic practitioner or 2 or 3. You may need one who you go to for massage therapy. You may need one to go to for EFT, emotional freedom technique, which is a
Right.
that helps you to become aware of your emotions and release them from the body through tapping. You may need a Reiki practitioner who can work on you at a spiritual level and help you to cleanse your energetic field. Because what happens when you're in a narcissistic or abusive relationship for a very long time, they deplete you in such a way that you will be so exhausted. They lower your vibration. They
Yes.
lower frequency, and those things become attached to you. And something you can see that on people. Some people, you can tell they've been abused. It's on them. It's on, and so you need someone who can do the spiritual work with you to
Right.
help pull that energy off of you and help you raise your vibration.
Right. Because I mean, when you're dealing with narcissistic abuse, this is the type of energy that can have you absolutely questioning, somebody who knows themselves, absolutely questioning who you are all over again, who you are in yourself all over again, forgetting about your goddesshood, forgetting about your godhood, your godliness. You know what I mean? Like they could absolutely strip you of that soul. You know what I mean? That you have, and have you wondering, like, and questioning and forgetting and having to come back into no, wait a second. You know what I mean? It's such a vampirish energy. It
Right.
honestly really is. It does the most to draw from you, and at all times. Like you have to walk on breadcrumbs or walk around on your tiptoes, waiting for a shoe to drop or you know what I mean? Something to happen almost with every second of your life. So.
And that you just talked about reminds me of another term that I came up with, or I believe I did, because I've never heard it anywhere else, and I call it soul murder.
Soul murder.
Soul murder. They slowly they your spirit on the inside. They break you down. They make you feel isolated. They make you feel alone. They make you feel hopeless. And a lot of times a narcissist can actually kill you by proxy, because they murder your spirit to the point that you are pushed to even take your own life. A lot of people have experienced that.
It gets that dark. The depression from the abuse gets that dark.
Yeah, it gets extremely dark.
Yep. Where you actually like have to find ways to find the like audiobooks. Let me tell you, when you can't speak to yourself and there's no one else affirming your soul life, but they're trying to affirm your soul death, and you're so confused with all of the messages that you're getting and you're trying to process and come out of it, a lot of the times you literally need to listen to somebody affirming the opposite to you. And if it doesn't come from the family, it doesn't come from the friends, it doesn't come from society, you need to find it somewhere. I find myself going to the books, child. You know, I need to go to the books, to the audiobooks, like, you know, A Return to Love literally dug me deep out of some stuff, because, you know, you need to know how to love people who are projecting violence at you. You know, you need to know how to, and when I say love, you know, we're talking about not necessarily towards them in person, because again, we have to disconnect, right? But you still have to lead with that within yourself, the loving energy from self, right? Because if you're leading with any of the other energy, you just might turn into what it is you're trying to, the abuse that you're trying to avoid, you might be the one inflicting it now, you know,
or you
to yourself and others.
Never able to enjoy your life again after that.
That too.
Really their goal, you know, they want to steal that life force energy from you and have you never smile again, because that's how they feel on the inside. That is how they feel. They don't have a sense of peace within them, and they seek to steal your peace from you.
Yes.
It's like they feel that, well, I don't have peace, so why do you get to be happy?
Right. Oh, man. Okay. Whew. Well, I know we got into gaslighting already quite a bit. Did you want to maybe give an example of gaslighting for in society?
I think I did give one, actually. Yeah.
I know we talked about it in families. I don't remember.
Yeah. So one of the examples that I see often, I'll just reiterate it, is whenever we speak about racism. Okay, so we'll use this Kyrie and Kanye situation that came out, right? So when Kyrie put out a link, just a link to a movie, this movie, Hebrews to Negroes, or something like that, right? Hebrews to Negroes. He was very adamant that I just shared a link because I was exploring my history.
Right.
And I was exploring my heritage as a Black person who is linked to Hebrew tradition. And they refused to accept that answer and continued to tell him that what you said is anti-Semitic. He said nothing about Jewish people. What you did was continue, I mean bluish people, sorry. They said nothing, he said nothing about the blues. He said nothing about these people. And they continue to reiterate that he was being anti-Semitic.
Right. Because just the act of you speaking about something makes you that.
Right. Right.
So that
And,
means, okay, well, people be speaking about melanated people all the time. I guess that they're anti-melanin.
right. You see, and that is the problem with narcissistic abuse is they can treat you a particular way, but you dare better not do it to them.
Right.
They have different rules for you than they have for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
totally different. So people can say the N-word all day. People can have the most vile anti-Black commentary
Right.
out there.
Or
No
they can
consequence.
clap back because they have been clapping back.
Right. Right. But the moment you even say the word bluish,
Mm.
ooh,
All of a sudden,
anti
yeah.
gaslighting.
Yeah.
That is gaslighting.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that leads us into the solutions segment of our discussion. So, how can someone get their soul back after the experience of soul snatching or gaslighting with a narcissist and within society? I think we kind of a little bit touched on it. If you wanted to
Yeah.
add something else, then
Right. Okay, so I'll add onto it because we did talk about it. You get your soul back by being who you truly are, which means you have to affirm yourself. First, you have to disconnect from the narcissist. You have to detach from them altogether. And then you have to affirm the truth of who you really are
right,
and be that person. Don't turn into who they made you out to be. You have to be who you truly are and detach from them completely.
right,
When it comes to gaslighting, the way that you take your power back is stop going back and forth with these people.
mm,
A lot of us waste time and we waste energy trying to explain, or maybe if I tell them in a different way, and we as Black people, we do that all the time and we look so silly, like we're talking to a brick wall. You are the one who doesn't get it. It's not that they don't get it. They know
right,
what they're, you
right,
don't, that they actually mean to do what they are doing.
mm,
In order to combat gaslighting, you have to state your point, state your truth of what has happened, and disengage. Don't continue going back and forth and arguing. So for me, if I make a post, I stand on what I said in my post. I'm not arguing with you.
right. Short and sweet, to the point. That's
Yeah.
it.
If there's, sometimes I'll get multiple Wazungu in the comments who say all different types of gaslighting commentary. I already know what they're going to say. They use the same comments every single
Tactics. Yeah. Yeah.
one person, and in so many words, I will say, I said what I said,
Right.
period.
Right.
And at that, y'all all can read that one comment. Whoever else responded after that, read that one comment. I'm not
Right.
arguing. I said what I said. So state your truth and disengage.
Right. I agree. And so, how would you say how does one heal and recover from narcissistic and societal abuse? I know that I've heard you say many times your healing is in your culture.
There you go. There you go. And the reason I say that is because self-love is the antidote to narcissistic abuse.
Mm,
Whenever you have dealt with somebody who has broken down your self-esteem, your sense of self to that degree, the way to counter that is through self-love. And this is why I teach wellness. Wellness is self-love. When you
mm,
start feeding yourself the right foods that nourish your brain and nourish your whole body, when you
yes.
start taking care of your body in a particular way, you start meditating, where you begin to become aware of your thoughts, and instead of doing things that numb your thoughts, you begin
Mm,
to heal. When you speak the middle nature and you speak other affirmations, words of power,
right.
okay, words of power, hekau, you begin
Yes.
to change vibration and raise your vibration. So all of the things that they did, they damage your adrenal system. This
Oh,
level of abuse constantly damages your adrenal system, your immune system, and lowers your vibration. You have to counter it with doing high vibration things that raise your vibration. And I talk about this in my book, High Vibration Nutrition, because it's a holistic thing. It's not just about the food. There are things that you do to raise your emotional frequency, your mental frequency, and your physical body as well, and your spirituality. So prayer, you know, Reiki, your affirmations, all of these things are,
Affirmations.
yeah, you have to get into your self-healing. So as a culture, it means returning to our culture.
Right.
You have to separate yourself from Wazungu culture, which is narcissism.
Right.
White supremacy and white culture are really synonymous. Can you think of anything when you think of white culture? What else do you think of besides racism? That's the culture.
I didn't prepare for that question. Oh my goodness. Listen,
So,
I feel like, so, okay, you know what? One more question. What are the best tools to cleanse yourself of narcissistic trauma? That was a question in the live that I don't want to forget. So are you saying the tools are the therapies, the prayers, the affirmations, all of these are the tools, the foods,
the food, all of those are your tools. And I go in depth in the book, High Vibration Nutrition. It's a whole guide on how to begin doing that. And I always go through periods of detoxing. So it'll be a 21-day period where I am giving myself the highest vibration foods.
Right.
Highest foods, pure plant foods, and that helps to raise your vibrational frequency because it's changing you at the blood level. It's cleansing the blood.
And you're so right. When we go through these kinds of abuses and traumas, it hits at the cellular level, in the internal, because the heart takes on the pressures. You know, the internal organs actually take on the pressure. And the one thing you'll realize is when it's gone to the point where you know this is too much, it's because your body is telling you. It's not even your mind telling you anymore. Your body is actually saying, hey, you need more nutrients, you need more vitamins, you need more of this thing, you need more of that thing. You know what I mean? So it's actually, when we're talking about healing, we can't heal the mind without healing the body. Because when the mind is affected, the body is affected. You know, these traumas live within, you know what I mean? Especially if you've been suffering from them for, you know, prolonged periods of time. You know what I mean? Like for myself, it's been since childhood, you know what I mean? So it's like, imagine like all of the feelings are in there, you know what I mean? So you have to now take them and replace them with the good vibrational energy and the healthy nutritions, right? And I mean, I'd like to, me personally, let me tell you, when I was doing my research for our talk, I darn near watched every single one of your YouTube videos. And I literally had to, I was doing some self-reflection, self-work, like for me, having dealt with so much narcissistic abuse, that I now as well have joined your healing circle of high vibration nutrition. Okay. Can we get into it? Bana Set's book is available for purchase on Amazon. That's where I got my copy, but it's also available through your link at www.kemeticwellness.com. Correct. So please make sure to get you a copy, as well as you know, to follow and subscribe to this Kempress and her channels. So IG, it's at Kemetic Wellness Official. YouTube, it's at Kemetic Wellness, because we have apps for YouTube now. So I mean, if you want more tools, literally you can find them in here, is what we're saying to you. And
man, woman, and child, that's exactly the idea, sis. That is our Trinity.
Yes, getting back to our culture and embracing you know, the ancient times for me just resonate. You know what I mean? Modern day, I feel like, you know, we have to bring more of the ancient to the modern, because back in those civilizations, that, you know, that's where we were at the heights, you know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely agree with you in terms of letting our culture be the lead and hanging on to that and growing within, you know, what was indigenous to us versus, you know, assimilating.
Right. And that is the reason that I've taken it back all the way to Kemet, because when I started to think of when is the last time that we were our purest selves without foreign contact and without foreign invasion,
Right.
and provides us a link to the African mindset and the African experience prior to foreign invasion. And you can begin to understand the mindset through reading the ancient texts from Kemet,
Right.
the Medusa.
Right.
And so that is one of the things that drew me, because for the longest time, I wanted to understand who were we before we were here. Just like anyone going through abuse in a family, you want to remember, who am I? Who is that child, that spirit that reincarnated here in this time and space? Who am I, and who was I supposed to be before
Right.
all of the people told me these horrible negative things about myself, before they placed all of these things on my aura? I don't want to accept these things. I want to be who I was created to be.
That's
So
right.
that's where the healing is. It's in returning to that person, the true person that you are, your true self, your authentic self.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to do this again. This subject is just, it's so complex that I
Yeah.
feel like the discussion needs to continue. You know, we need to, I mean, you know me, I'm probably going to hit you up with questions tomorrow, because I keep coming, but after one question, I'm like, but, you know, well,
Yeah.
I'm always flowing with the questions on this topic, right? Um, but yeah, so I mean, gratitude and thank you. Like, thank you kindly from the bottom of all of our hearts, all of the viewers here, because this is life-changing information. This is enrichment. This is like a community of people who know what you're going through, right? And we need to make the community bigger. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully
Yeah.
between your viewers and our viewers, we can make, you know, something else happen again in terms of continuing having this conversation.
I would absolutely love to. I would love to. And I just want to
Encore,
say,
encore. Rich
yeah,
and lavish knowledge.
I love the viewers that we had in here.
Right?
Y'all, y'all came with a good questions. Y'all
The
came with
energy.
like, I appreciate you all so much
So do I.
for being in here, for being active, like being an
Exactly.
active part of the conversation. And thank you so much for reaching out to me. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. I truly appreciate you. I love this talk. Thank you.
Mutual. It's like, honestly, the love is likewise. And yes, thank you for everybody's participation and for your comments and including what you've been through and your experiences. You know, it's
Yeah.
good to know we're not alone and there is a community here. Please feel free to reach out to myself and reach out to Bonaset. We're extremely approachable people. We answer our DMs, you know what I mean? So DM to collab, you know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
here. We want to keep this conversation going in the community. And as for Goddess Culture, please make sure to hit the link in our description and grab a copy of our children's book. Actually, I should show that too, shouldn't I? Huh? We got to
Yes.
tell her. Here's
Yes.
the children's book. There we go. At the Emperor of the Cutes. Okay. So we produced it for the culture and for the academic awakening of the children. You can find that on Amazon.com. Actually, you can find it in over 11 to 12 marketplaces around the world on Amazon. So if you click the link, wherever you're at in the world, we've provided a link for you to go and purchase that. So yes, we again, we're very thankful for you joining us today. And Banaset, Contact net. Sinet. What's up?
Yeah.
What's up? Dua. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings.
Peace and love to you and to everyone on the call. Hetepu.
All right. Take care, love. Bye, everybody.